I think when we're talking, keep in mind. Oh. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking Brazil Ball, the podcast all about Brazilian football. We're back for another action-packed week, a review of the Brasileirão, Botafogo smashing Red Bull Bragantino. Mirassol's run continues apace, and Inter finally get a win. All that and so much more in today's show. Yeah, some clunky mic work. I'm James Brook. I'm here as ever, joined by George. George, how are you doing? Another busy week in the Brasileirão to get into.
Yeah, como vai, everybody. So you just heard, but it's kind of, I think you hadn't seen. I just pressed the record button, James. We're just listeners, just privy to an inside conversation. I think we're having just on
behind the scenes, wasn't it?
Yeah, behind the scenes look at Talking Brazil Ball. But yeah, I'm okay, James. Thank you. Looking forward to getting into another week of action. And how are you doing this evening? It's getting darker earlier, isn't it? Nowadays.
Yeah, it is. It's still nice and light for now, but I guess by the time we finished, it will be slowly getting dark. It's been really chucking it down earlier, but it's come out nice now. So not a bad day. Doing all right, steady along. It's been a busy week for me. A work deadline day on Monday, so it was a very, very long shift for me. Trying to get all those deals over the line. Not personally, obviously, but getting them all reported on. Cuiabano actually made the move from Fogo. We spoke about him last week. We weren't sure if he had actually completed. He has now completed that move to Forest. I don't know what the hold-up was, really. They kind of did those deals at different times, but Cuiabano is in the Premier League now. So, lots of interesting deals and things. So, a busy one for me. A busy one in the Brasileirão. Lots and lots of goals and some interesting results. Have you got a quiz, George, to kick off the show, or shall we get straight into the round?
I have got a quiz, actually. And just to say, I don't know if Fogo have any players left, James. I think they've all gone to Forest, haven't they? They seem to have bought pretty much all of the, a lot of their players. Cuiabano, Igor Jesus, the goalkeeper John went as well, didn't he? And Cunha as well. I think it was about 4 in the latter stages of the transfer window. So Forest do like a Brazilian, don't they? Definitely. But I'm disappointed with my team actually not doing any deadline day deals, but that's for another podcast. So I do have a quiz for you, James, and it is surrounding my team, Galo, of course. I don't know if you've seen, James, this week, Galo have appointed a new man. Have you seen it?
No, I didn't actually.
You'll know him. You'll know him very well indeed. He's already been at Atletico Mineiro in the past. It is Mr. Jorge Sampaoli, who has been appointed on Tuesday, James, as recent as Tuesday. Galo obviously lost to Vitória, which we will run down the results in a minute. But it does surround Mr. Sampaoli, this quiz of sorts. So it's his second stint in charge of Galo. We know that teams do like to go for 2, 3, 4, even 4 spells at Brazilian sides. The Argentine manager. So he was first in charge of Galo in 2020. James, he took charge of the 2020 Brasileirão campaign for Galo. They finished in an impressive 3rd position. I think they were only 3 points off the eventual winners, who were, I think it was Flamengo in the end. They had an incredible season under Sampaoli. And what I want to know, James, is which now Fluminense striker top scored for Galo in that season?
I don't think it's Cano. The ball chap who came from Fortaleza, from Bahia. I can't remember. Everaldo?
Nope, it's not him. Nope.
Right. I don't know.
Well, you were close with Carno, James. It was actually Keno.
Oh, yeah.
Keno, the 35-year-old Brazilian, well, he's a left winger actually, but he top scored. He got 10 goals for Galo. Also in the top scoring charts that season was Eduardo Sacha, who plays for RB Bragantino as well. He got 9. Savarino was also in that squad. So they had a decent squad, very experienced team. Ironically, James, very ironically, this as well, given who was sacked recently for Galo as well, which was Kuka. In 2021, when Sampaoli terminated his contract with Galo, guess who succeeded him on that season?
Kuka.
Yeah. Kuka won the league with Galo after Sampaoli came third. And now, 4 years later, Sampaoli succeeds Kuka. So a bit of synergy there, which I don't know if the Galo board might have been aware of in making that decision, but
I don't think so. They changed the manager that many times, and Galo fans like yourself can only wish for third to first place. It's certainly not been that over the last couple of seasons. Anyway, George, that was a good quiz. Let's crack on then. Let's get down to a rundown of the results because there were lots to get through.
Oh, there definitely was, James. So we'll just go into it when I can find it. Just a second. So yes, so it did start round 22, James, on Saturday, the 30th of August, with Sciarra 0, Juventude 1, and Fogo 4, RB Bragantino 1. Into Sunday the 31st, then, Cruzeiro 1, Sao Paulo 0, Flamengo 1, Grêmio 1, Santos 0, Fluminense 0, Corinthians 1, Palmeiras 1, Mirassol 5, Bahia 1, Vitória 1, Galo 0, and then into Monday the 1st of September, early hours of that day here, Inter 2, Fortaleza 1, and Sport 2, Vasco 3.
Yep, and like you said, Galo really do need a bit of a pick-me-up. Fortaleza do as well, George. I was just reading before we came on air that Renato Paiva has not lasted long at Fortaleza at all. He has also been sacked, and they do have a new manager in already at the Castelao. Is it Argentinian chap Palermo? I believe his name is. I can't remember his first name. I think it's Martin. He's a former Real Betis player, former Boca Juniors. Yeah, Martin Palermo. It's a 51-year-old Argentine international. Actually, really good record at international level. And you know what? I do remember this guy. He scored 6 goals in 8 games for Argentina. It's a pretty good record, that. And yeah, like I said, a stint with Real Betis. He's a pretty well-travelled manager, largely kind of around South America, but he's never been in Brazil before. So he's joined Fortaleza, George. And there was a bit of hilarity when he was announced because he does bear a kind of a resemblance to Juan Pablo Voivoda, of course, his countryman who was at Fortaleza. And a lot of the fans were kind of pointing that out, apparently on social media, saying, welcome Voivoda, but it wasn't Voivoda, it's Palermo. So a bit of fun, of course, fun and games with a new man before he inevitably gets sacked after a few games because they're not in the best of form. Anyway, that was just a piece of news I wanted to bring to everybody just before we get going. Let's kick off with your game of the week, George, which was, I think it was Cruzeiro Sao Paulo, wasn't it?
No, I was doing Vitória Galo, James.
Oh, yeah, all right, okay, yeah, fair enough. Well, let's have a look at that because, Vitória took an early lead and didn't give it up, basically. And
yeah,
they were smacked 8-0 last week, but they came back and followed it up with a good-looking win. So what did you see from this one? Looked like Galo dominated.
Yeah, Galo dominated this game, James, but they just couldn't get the ball in the net. It was that one of them. I think the goalkeeper, Vitória goalkeeper Haranjo, he had a decent game there, but lots of shots. The ones that were on target, like I said, were saved well by the goalkeeper. Vitória also did have a lot of shots in this game. Not many on target either. Pretty low XG for both teams. Vitória just shaded it with 0.85. But the goal itself was wonderful. I think we've talked about Eric before, James, and I think if I remember correctly, he did get a goal of the round not too long ago. And for me, this was up there with nearly, could have won goal of the week, goal of the round on another week, perhaps. Lovely sort of. He loves to cut in on his left foot, does this lad, and he did it the same again. Received the ball on the right hand side, cut in with his left foot, and just bent the ball into the top corner. Everson didn't have an opportunity to get his hand up there, and in the goal it went. And from that moment on, Garlo, as try as he might, just couldn't get a goal, and it's really been starting to worry the fans now, and for me as well. You think when are we even going to get a win? It's three defeats in a row, including obviously the cup defeat, the cup first leg defeat in the Belo Horizonte derby against Cruzeiro. We haven't actually won in the league since the 3rd of August, James, a 2-1 win against RB Bragantino. So over a month now without a Brasileirão win. Starting to get a bit worrying. Obviously, Cuca was relieved of his duties, and now, like we know, Sampaoli is in. Let's see if he can make a difference in his second coming. But yeah, they really do need something. The team looks really stale. Vitória, not much better in terms of league position and whatnot. In fact, they're 2 points behind them, occupying the last place in the relegation zone. But like I said, 2 points behind them. So they'll be absolutely delighted with that. It was a big game, really, having not won for a few games as well, Vitória, and sliding down the table. But they still haven't appointed a manager just yet, James. So they're still awaiting one, but they will be the more happier of the two sides, given this result the other day.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how Sampaoli can change things. What do you think needs to change at Gallo? Or they're still kind of in 14th, but there isn't there's only 2 points between them and the relegation zone. Really, it's not a long way, is it? So, but then again, they're only 6 points off kind of 8th. So a couple of wins, and maybe that new manager bounce can just take them up the table a little bit.
Well, this is what you're hoping, James. Sampaoli bounced up. He was appointed on Tuesday, so I don't know whether he was in the stands for this game. I assume he probably was, but you can't assume anything, really, particularly in the Brasileirão. But, I expect he probably was there. He probably did oversee it. I just think the goals are drying up. We need more from like a Hulk. Hulk seems to give it all of this. Gabba, talk in the press, particularly after the lose games. But he doesn't do a lot of his talking on the pitch. And I think we need more from players such as him who really, carry the team, even at the age he is now, which I think is 30, 38, or maybe even older than that. And, we just need to see a bit more of him and a bit more of all the team, actually, really. But I think Sampaoli can make a tune out of them, hopefully. But like you said, we're 2 points away from the relegation zone here now. And, it's not looking any better, is it? We've like I said, no wins since early August in the Brasileirão. I think we're, I don't know how well we're doing in the, in the continental competition, because I haven't looked actually since. But I think again we're struggling in that, and yeah, they just need a bit more from the bigger players, really.
Yeah, we'll wait and see whether Sampaoli can get them through. They are in the, I think, quarterfinal of the Sudamericana, so they're doing okay in that one. They've got Bolivar, so a winnable game in the quarterfinal as well, you'd have to say. So they maybe have an eye on that, as they did last year. We remember the cup competitions were kind of the saviour for Milito, and ultimately he couldn't win either of them, and was rightly kind of sacked. So let's see if things can get better for them. Well, thank you, George. Go on.
4 goals in the last 5 games, James. That's all they've got in all competitions. That's what I mean. We just need more from the attacking players. Even the likes of Scarpa, who was in and out before, in the early part of last season. Ronnie, Barand, there's a few players there that can do damage. We just haven't seen it, enough. And like I said, Hulker's turned 39 not long ago, and he's still carrying the team. And I think he's still the top scorer, actually, with 4 goals this season. So, it's just not good enough at the moment. And Sam Powley really needs to, we need to see a change and change quickly.
Yeah, well, let's see what's on the horizon for Gallo. Surely some better things. Well, let's move on, George. And my game of the week was, of course, the Sao Paulo derby, the big one that we've been always had an eye on since we started talking Brazil ball. Really, it always seems to be a pretty lively affair. Corinthians against Palmeiras. And I have to say, this one was a bit of a letdown, really, in that kind of respect. I mean, every time they've played these two, which they played in the cup last year, didn't they? Or was that this year even? There was quite a lot of kind of drama and there was a pig's head, wasn't there, at one stage? And there was all kinds of shenanigans. And it just didn't really happen this time. It was kind of a fairly mundane 1-1 draw. There was no fisticuffs at full time. The ref blew the whistle and there was nothing. It was just kind of that's it, kind of shake hands and get out of there. And I think that probably reflects the kind of the nature of the game, really. It was a game which both teams probably really could have done with winning. I don't think a draw really suited either of them. It probably suited Corinthians better just because of the position that Palmeiras are in. But Palmeiras were kind of the better team from the look of it, but didn't really threaten all that much. The goalkeeper in the end, Hugo Souza, who's been quite impressive, I think, this season for Corinthians, made a couple of saves, but they were all kind of routine from long-range efforts, nothing really troubling. But I think he did show kind of why he's been called up by Brazil. I think Ancelotti's called him up, so he's in the picture for Brazil ahead of the kind of the World Cup next year. So he looked decent. Roque got a goal from the penalty spot, really, really well taken penalty, actually high into the net early on. To put them ahead, Palmeiras, but they just couldn't hold on, and it was a really scrappy own goal. Piqueires gave it away. It was a header back across the box, and I don't know what he's trying to do, to be honest, but he somehow manages to flick it into the far corner, and they almost scored another one shortly after that as well. It was I don't know who it was that time, but defender kind of flicked on across from the other side and just went wide, just past the post. So they could have been behind in the end. They went in 1-1, and the second half seemed to be kind of the same kind of pattern, really. Chances kind of for either team, half chances, but nothing really kind of clear cut. And there were no more goals. And that's the way it ended. So I think a better point for Corinthians than Palmeiras. It leaves Palmeiras 4 points off the top, still with a game in hand, because obviously Flamengo drew their game as well, but they are now below Corinthians, who beat Sao Paulo. So they could have done with winning, but I think then again, you go to your rivals and you pick up a point away from home. Nobody injured, kind of no bad kind of fallout from it. I think you probably take that, really. So Abel Ferreira will have wanted more, but I think they'll probably settle for a point at the end of the day. And you talk about Gallo being short of goals then. I think the same is really true of Corinthians. I've really missed Yuri Alberto, who's, I think, just about coming back from injury. He's been out for a couple of weeks. Memphis Depay just hasn't really kind of sparked recently. I did see that there were clubs in for him on deadline day, but it never quite happened. He's still there, so he's going to see out the rest of the season at Corinthians. The young guy we spoke about last week as well, Guy Nagao, he couldn't have an impact in this one. It was a big game. It would have been a good kind of time for him to step up with another goal, but he couldn't. They also just are lacking that kind of firepower. I mean, Rodrigo Garro, who was so kind of influential, especially at the end of last season, he's barely done anything this season. He's had 1 assist, 0 goals from 11 matches so far, and he was really a creative spark for them last year. So they're just missing that kind of the players who pulled them through last year at the end of the season. And I think they will improve, to be fair, once Alberto comes back. But in terms of this one, they take the point. They still sit in 12th. Like Gallo, they're only really a few points ahead of the relegation zone, and that's not ideal. But I think in this one, they just settle for a point and move on, basically. So, I don't know how you saw this one as in terms of the results.
It's only 2 wins in 10 league games now for Corinthians, James. And Donival Jr. is not really pulling up any trees, as we keep saying, pretty much week in, week out when we talk about Corinthians. And they just need more from the forward lads. Like you said, Alberto is a big miss. Garro needs to be doing a lot more, like you said. And, Depay, yeah, he obviously didn't get his move back to Europe on deadline day. It's a real shame, really, for him because he's in the Dutch squad, isn't he, for the upcoming international games? I don't know who they're playing, but he's in there, but he's just been a little bit frozen out the last couple of games from Corinthians squad, hasn't he? And I don't know about this. Like you said, we always anticipate fireworks in the Paulista derby, but we didn't get it this time round. It was a lovely penalty from Roque, actually, wasn't it? In the first 15 minutes of the game. But yeah, relatively, I think both teams probably happy to get out with a point. I think Corinthians have recently had the upper hand, haven't they, over Palmeiras? So maybe Palmeiras are probably happy to go out, particularly away from home, and say, hey, we got out with a point. We're still in touch with Flamengo at the top of the league, and we can make that ground up. Let's take the point and move on to a game again. Another game at the weekend with your team Inter, James, on Saturday. So they'll see that as a winnable game, surely.
Yeah, they've got the cup coming up as well. They are, of course, into the quarters with a 1-0 lead over Atletico Paranense. So not all lost for Dorival just yet. Let's move on, George, quickly, because we've eaten up quite a bit of time there. Let's get on to the player of the round. There weren't too many kind of candidates for this one, really. I know you put one forward, and from Vasco. Oh, yeah. Forgot about the Togan Snowball band there.
No.
Third time lucky.
Yeah, got it. Third time lucky.
Yep, that's the one. Like I was saying, not too many candidates, but there were a couple. Your suggestion initially was Nuno Moreira from Vasco. The Portuguese guy got a goal and an assist in a very tight game, probably tighter than they'd really like it to be with Sport Recife. They did win 3-2 in the end, and Moreira, came up with a goal and assist.
Yeah, nice tidy couple of goals. James assisted your man Phil Coutinho, who also slid through, under the goalkeeper with a lovely, nice finish. But in the end, like you said, slim pickings. There was another man on the, on our lips in the same game, of course. Lima, religious man by all accounts. He got a goal and assist as well, but his goal was a penalty, and then he assisted with a corner kick with a really powerful header in the last few minutes to get Sport back into it. But he did reveal, took his shirt off after the penalty goal and said, "I belong to Jesus." So there you go.
The old Cody Gakpo, as it's now known.
Yeah, exactly. No denying him, his faith there, and who he belongs to there. But yeah, it was a good penalty that as well. But yeah, those two were really the only ones that I really had down on my list until you pulled one out the bag, which is fair enough. And I completely missed this until you said it, actually, James. I just didn't even look. I looked at the score and I thought, okay, but I didn't clock who it was that scored the goal. And if you want to announce it, you can do.
All right, thank you. Well, unfortunately for Lima, Jesus does not decide the Talking Brazil Ball player of the round, otherwise he might have won it. But yeah, there was an Alan Patrick as well for Inter, got a goal and an assist, so back in form for him, back in winning ways for Inter, which was important. But yeah, I thought once I saw the Gremio game, Flamengo won, Gremio won, which was a really good result for Gremio in the end. I think it has to go to Volpi, the goalkeeper, because George, the goalkeeper has scored, Thiago Volpi. I mean, it's not as exciting as it initially sounds because it was a penalty. But still, it was very late in the game, 5 minutes to go. Gremio got a penalty, and up stepped Volpi. And by all accounts, to be fair, he had a really good game as well. I was reading that he's really playing well in this season, actually. Him and Souza, who I mentioned before, the Corinthians goalkeeper, is apparently really outperforming everybody else. So he's been catching the eye, Thiago Volpi. He's not a young man, he's 34 already. But yeah, it had to be him. It was a really well taken penalty as well. He didn't just come up and blast it. I I mean, it was a shame that it wasn't against Bahia, actually, because we know how good Rogerio Ceni was at taking penalties, free kicks. Of course, for Sao Paulo, he was a regular scorer. But yeah, Volpe, I think I didn't have a look, actually. I think it's probably the first goal of his career. Yeah, no, he scored 15 for his former club, Toluca. So he must have been the regular penalty taker in Mexico for them. He also scored once before for Figueirense, who were Bobby Firmino's old team. And he did actually play for Sao Paulo before, so he wasn't continuing Ceni's tradition over there. But yeah, what did you think of this one? It was a nice little stuttered kind of run up, as is the kind of the fashion nowadays, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it just didn't clock for me as soon and then I said, "Oh my goodness, yeah, no, to see he scored 15 in Mexico as well is obviously a penalty taker." So yeah, I was going to say, James, you can tell he's done it before, can't you? Just no hesitation at all, little run up and little jump, and then hop, skip, and the jump, and he just put it in the bottom corner. I mean,
yeah,
if he's done it well. Yeah, you can see he's done it before, and you think, wow, the goalkeeper scored. And he turns around and he just goes like that, doesn't he? And then they all just mob him. But obviously, he's done it before, and it's no surprise to his teammates. Whereas I think over here, when the goalkeeper scores, you're going like this. Oh my goodness, that isn't something that happens every day at all. But
well, I don't think I've ever seen. I mean, you've seen goalkeepers take penalties in penalty shootouts. I don't remember ever a goalkeeper in the Premier League taking a penalty.
I think you'll be looking for the rest of your life, James, at that one. I don't think you'll see a Premier League goalkeeper put away a penalty in England. Absolutely not. I think it's unheard of. Whereas I think in South America and not just Brazil, I think it is a little bit more regular that the goalkeepers do take free kicks and penalties. But we don't see it over here in England so much. But fair enough. Volpe's got good form in scoring. Obviously, he's a new signing at the start of the year for Gremio. I think he's played every game up until this point. So he did have a good game as well. I did watch the highlights. He did save a few close range efforts as well from Flamengo players, and obviously beaten by a long range one from Dia Rosetta, which isn't any embarrassment. He scores, some really nice goals, doesn't he? He does. So yeah, fantastic, and right in the closing minutes of the game as well, wasn't it? So excellent from him, and he has to get the player of the round. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I remember, of course, my favourite Brazilian goalkeeper, Alisson, getting a fantastic goal. I mean, that was a little better than this one, to be fair. Brilliant header against West Brom. But yeah, well done to Thiago Volpe. And it earned Gremio a really good point. I mean, we've waxed lyrical about Flamengo over recent weeks, George, but they couldn't get past. I mean, Volpe obviously played a big part in that, but it was a really important result for Gremio. That the kind of, like Corinthians and Gallo, I mean, they're actually stuck in between those two teams. And Inter really just can't seem to get any kind of run of form going. But this was important for them. Made it 3 games unbeaten, just so they're not sliding down the table. And for Flamengo, just frustration really that they couldn't break the deadlock. I mean, they probably kind of gave up all the goals the week before in that 8-0 win, didn't they? They could have done with a couple of those here.
Oh, they absolutely could have done, James. But again, it arrests that kind of nice little run of all competitions. They'd won 6 in a row, I think, James, and they've been unbeaten since the 1st of August in all competitions in a Copa do Brasil defeat against Galo. But used up all the goals against Vitória, didn't they? They can't have 8-0s all the time. They can't have it their own way all the time. So they do drop clangers here and there to Flamengo occasionally, and this happened to be one at home because it would have been one that they would have expected to win, to be fair. And they came up a little bit short, but I don't think they'll be too disheartened, really. They're still 3 points ahead of Cruzeiro with the game in hand at the top. So there's no need to push the panic button from Felipe Luis at the moment. They're doing a decent job, and I think they'll be back to winning ways. I'm pretty sure before too long potentially. And you would have thought so in the next game against Juventude.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Juve have been in good form themselves. Actually got a very important late winner this weekend. But yeah, they shouldn't prove any match for Flamengo. Let's move on to the young player of the round then, George. And there were even less candidates for this one, actually. I don't think there were actually. Go on, yeah, play a little jingle. Yeah, it's a young player. I don't know what it says there.
It's a young player around the world.
Yeah, it's cool. There weren't many candidates. I didn't think there were even 2 candidates. There was only one to pick from, really. So we may as well get straight into. And I know that this game actually you've leaked ahead of time. It contains 2 Talking Brazil Ball awards this week, so we may as well wrap them both together. So they both come for Botafogo, I guess. So they beat Red Bull Bragantino 4-1, and Bragantino bounced back from a really awful run last week with a win, but they got pummeled here again. Fogo kind of quietly doing pretty well. You know, they keep going, winning games. They've lost a couple recently, but they're kind of up there still now in the top 5. So they won 4-1, George. And the goals were scored by Danilo, Vitinho, and then so the third goal, I mean, we'll do young player of the round first, actually. So there was actually the 4th goal for Fogo, which was a young player of the round, and that was Alvaro Montoro, an Argentine left winger. So he's not come onto our radar actually before, has he? He's a new arrival really at Fogo, only joined in June actually from Vélez Sarsfield. So yeah, he's come up with the goal. It obviously wasn't particularly meaningful in this game. They'd already won it. It was in injury time, but still nice for him to get a goal. He did get one before. I think it was in the cup actually. So it's his first Serie A goal.
Yeah, it's his first Brasileirão goal, James, and it was a nice little close-range finish. Like you said, they'd already won the game. They'd already won the game far and away. But, you know, nice to add a gloss on it for Alvaro Montoro. And like you said, Argentine 18-year-old youngster. And like I said, he's not come onto our radar before. Oddly enough, wears the number 8 shirt, which I don't know if in Brazil they give a lot of weight to who wears what number, but I know it's a little bit more in England, isn't it? If you wear a number 8, you're generally considered as a, you know, first team starter, really, aren't you? Quite an important player, but obviously not the case here. Youngster in this little small lad by the look of it, but he'll be delighted with that. It was a nice little tidy finish, and you know, let's see what he can come up with for Fogo. They are quietly building towards something good. David Ancelotti has done a good job, you've got to say, since he came in. So fair play to him, fair play to Montoro. There was just another one on the cards potential, which was, of course, Vitor Roque, who is still eligible for that one. Did score the penalty, was a nice taken penalty. But no, it had to be Montoro. I think we do like to give players, you know, younger players, bit more of a scope on, you know, this sort of award. So it goes to him today. Nice finish, and we'll see what he can do in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's amazing how many of these young players do seem to come in for a little kind of brief run and then kind of disappear. So we'll have to hope that he isn't one of those. But yeah, Fogo is certainly in a decent nick. As for RBB, somehow they're still 8th, George. I don't know how they're still so high up the table, but I think it's because of those teams, Inter, Corinthians, even Fluminense as well, just can't seem to get any kind of head of steam up. But yeah, they're still up there in 8th, despite having lost, I think, like 8 of the last 9 or something like that. So another disappointing result for them. And Seabra is still there. But yeah, this will be another step for him towards perhaps being under some real pressure.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. You know, I think they have lost 8 of the last 9, James, in all in the league, and even more if you look back at all competitions. But yeah, Seabra is still there. I don't think he's got long, really. You know, they've got Sport Recife next. It's a good opportunity to get back to a win. Obviously, had that big win over Fluminense, couldn't back it up, and conceded 4 against Fogo. But yeah, for me, under a lot of pressure is Seabra. Not looking good at all, and I don't think it's just a matter of time, really. And they'll slip down the table before long. Amazingly, like you said, they still are 8th. but they had such a good start. I think that was what contributed as well. But now, 22 games in, you've got to say we're running on towards the end of the season. Really, it doesn't feel like it, but we kind of are, aren't we? Now we're sort of, nearly in the home straight, possibly in the next sort of 5 or 6 games, and we're on towards the last sort of 10. So yeah, it's taking shape, and Bragantino are in no kind of shape at the moment, so they really need to up the game for sure.
For sure. And of course, I mentioned that there were 2 awards in this game, and the second one was, of course, the goal of the round. So do you want to play a little jingle for that one? Yeah, so I mean, it's a man that we've become used to seeing score some really nice goals during last season. He was one of the key players as Fogo won that double. Jefferson Savarino, George, we've mentioned him a bit less this year, but he's popped up with another good goal.
It was a lovely goal, this, James. Yeah, I think he's only got 3 goals this season. Been a little bit more ineffective in his 14 games. Only 3 goals, 2 assists, but this was, as we've come to know, he likes a good curling long-range effort, and this was one of those. And he was involved in the build-up as well. I think he passed it out wide to the left. I think it was Danilo, who'd obviously scored the first goal as well, coming in from Forest not long ago. And he passed it back to him, and it was just a really nice sort of long-range curling effort. Goalkeeper nowhere near it. Pretty standard Savarino goal, but like I said, it didn't, not many came close. The one from Eric for Vitória, like we spoke about earlier, was one that caught my eye. Other than that, I think there was only between him and Eric for it. And I went for Jefferson because I thought, yeah, it was a nice goal, nice little bit of build-up play. They nicked it well from Bragantino, who were on the break at the time, and took them down the other end. And, you give Savarino a goal, a go at the goal, and often he does do something like that. So fair play to him. And hopefully he can get some form of a run going now, because, like I said, he's been a bit lean this season overall.
Yeah, no, he has. He's not been brilliant, to be fair, but neither have Fogo. Generally, they do seem to be kind of starting, like you said, to build something. So maybe Savarino will be important. I mean, I'm sure he will be important to that. So hopefully the kind of the beginning of the kind of, I mean, you say it's towards the end, it's still pretty much halfway. So if you can start getting going on that, then I'm sure Fogo will be in a better place for that. Okay, George, well, that's the end of the awards for today's show, but we do have some more awards to give out, don't we? Because it is time for the Talking Brazil Ball monthly awards. So we've got a manager of the month, well, a player of the month, a manager of the month, and the goal of the month. So you've been doing the deliberations, haven't you, this time? The manager of the month, I know very, very well. So we may as well hand that out, I think, first, before you do your kind of Davina McCall announcements. So the winner of the manager of the month is a double winner of the manager of the month. So he won it last month, very deservedly, and I'd argue that he deserves it even more this month. And that is, of course, the Mirassol manager, Rafael Guanayes, who has just continued to take Mirassol on the most incredible journey in their first ever season in the Brazilian top flight. George, they absolutely battered Bahia this week, and it was 5-1 to end the month. Bahia, who themselves have been in really brilliant form, absolutely fantastic form, in fourth, and now they only sit 1 point above Mirassol in fourth, because Mirassol have just absolutely wiped the floor with them. That was a culmination of a really good month. 5 games, 3 wins, 1 loss against Flamengo, very tight loss, a draw against Cruzeiro as well. So the top 2 there, they were the only teams that they couldn't beat. And what a month for Mirassol and Guanayes.
It's amazing, James. They've lost 1 game in 10. They've only lost 3 all season out of 20 games. And for a team, we keep waxing lyrical about them, but we should. It's the first ever season in the Brasileirão to lose only 3 games out of 20 and be sitting in 6th position. a point off fourth place is absolutely incredible. And it's another month, like you said, no disgrace losing to Flamengo, no disgrace having a draw with Cruzeiro, because they're the two top teams in the league this season. So they've done absolutely fantastic. Absolutely, like you said, wiped the floor with Bahia on Saturday evening. And that is something that, teams have absolutely, on Sunday evening. So the teams don't do that to Bahia. Bahia have been absolutely brilliant this season, sit fourth in the league themselves. And they've just gone and just said, you know what, we don't care about that. We're going to put you to the sword, as we do. Often they don't smack teams 5, but they do beat teams, obviously. And, and they've done it again. And Guanara's really deserves another Manager of the Month award, because they're just doing so well. I think if they continue to do it, we've got to just say, hey, calm and move on to somebody else. But I think Guanayas, he really does deserve all the plaudits he can get. And I'm sure that he is doing in Brazil in the media as well, because he should. And they're absolutely, 5 different scorers. They're all little bitty, scrappy goals, but, they all count. And that's what they're doing. They're not scoring fantastic goals. They're just scoring goals and winning games. And that's all you need to do.
Yeah, they've got. I'd argue that they're safe now. Already 35 points. I can't remember how many points kept teams safe last year, but they're not far off it already. Like you said, only 20 games. It is literally halfway. Not literally, but as close to. And yeah, it's been a phenomenal half season for Guanayas. So fair play to them. Like you said, things may change. Expectations get recalibrated, so he may not continue winning it unless they do something incredible, but he certainly does deserve it this month. I think Felipe Luis was a good shout. There's also won 3 games out of 5, as did Palmeiras, sandwiched by a draw, as did Fogo de Villanchelottis, as did Sao Paulo. We haven't mentioned Hernan Crespo too much, George, but he was a good candidate. He's been doing really well there as well, so all deserving kind of shouts, but yeah, Guanayas, you just can't look past them at the moment. So it's right that we do honour him again. And how about the Player of the Month, George? I think there's been a couple of candidates, maybe.
Yeah, there's been 1 or 2, James. The one I'd like to point out before I, give the winner, and you don't know this yet, so you might concur with it. I don't know, but I'm gonna, Pereira, who's a favourite of ours on the pod here, isn't he, for Cruzeiro? He's been in good form, James, recently in the month of August. He scored 3 goals, and Cruzeiro themselves obviously are in good form this season, we know. So I did think about maybe giving it him, but the man I've given it to is Pedro, James, because simply he's scored, I think, the most goals out of the month, and he scored 5. I know he did score 3 in one, but he did also get 2. He got a double in a win over Inter as well. Takes his tally to 10 goals this season. And I just think, yeah, purely probably because of that hat-trick, really. And, he was the part his part that he played in that 8-0 win as well. A couple of assists, I think, in that game as well, didn't he? 1 assist. So, yeah, I think just purely for his goal ratio, for me, it's got to be Pedro this time.
Yeah, fair enough. I think he's been slightly quiet, but he has come to the party this month, so fair enough. I think a fair shout as well. Well done to Pedro. I'd imagine he might not be the last one that he wins as well. There's still a few months to go, obviously. As he gets back to better fitness, he may start doing that again on the regular like he has done in the past. Yeah, good shout, George. What about young? No, we don't do a young player of the month. Sorry. How about the goal of the month?
Goal of the month, and James, I'm going for Juba, who scored the goal for Bahia last month in your game of the week, wasn't it?
Last week.
Yeah, it was just last week, wasn't it? Or was it a couple of weeks ago?
It was last week, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lovely goal, long-range effort, keeper no chance in the 2-0 win over Santos. For me, this one takes it.
Is that all you said? I thought you'd cut out there. Is that that's all you said? All right, fair enough. Sweet. I'm not used to going so so succinctly. Well done to Juba. It was a good goal and a deserving winner.
There's not much to say on it, really, is there?
Well, that's it. We haven't got it up on the screen. So, well done to Juba. Well done to all the winners. Better luck next time to everybody who didn't win. There's a new month now, and it's already underway. So, I'm sure there'll be some other winners this time around. Right, George. Let's look ahead then. Let's look ahead to the fixtures this week, and then pick our games of the week.
Well, James, we've actually overlooked this completely here. It's the international break. They're not actually playing this weekend, so we can have a look at the Brazil sort of team, fixture if you want to.
No, I mean we'll maybe do one next week. We'll have to think about what we'll do. But yeah, Brazil are playing Chile early hours of tomorrow morning, actually, aren't they? And then they've got a game against Bolivia. So we know Brazil, and that'd be worth looking at Brazil actually, just because obviously Ancelotti is there. He's had a game already, I think, hasn't he? He had a couple of games, yeah, but they're obviously not in the best shape at the minute, but that does still be fine to qualify. We all know that, so it will be interesting to see. The Brazil squad was interesting in itself. Like I mentioned before, Hugo Souza was in there. We did look at it, I think, last week very briefly, didn't we? We mentioned a couple of Caio Jorge was called up, and a couple of other kind of domestic players as well. So yeah, we can maybe have a look at Brazil next week, but we'll discuss that. But yeah, you're right, I completely forgotten that as well. So yeah, no fixtures to run down, unfortunately. And I just saw as well, I forgot to mention, there was a couple of transfer bits which I just wanted to bring up. I saw Andreas Pereira, of course. We know that he was gone to Palmeiras. He didn't play this week, and he is in training, so he is ready now, I think, or more or less ready to play for Palmeiras. That was a big signing for them. And this is a good one you'll like, George, for Grêmio. Obviously, we know that they signed Arthur Melo. He hasn't played for them just yet as well. I don't know whether he's getting up to match fitness. But they've also signed Willian he was released from Fulham. He'd been there, obviously, a couple of years, released and came back. So, yeah, still going strong. Willian has turned up at Grêmio. So, what do you think about that? A good signing for the league. He's about the right age to come back now. I mean, he's
that's it. I think he's 37, isn't he, Willian? So, you're just picking up old school Brazilian players at this point. But like you said, coming back to his home country, you know what I mean? It's a decent signing. This sort of age, like we know in the Brazil around, they still can keep going. I mean, look at Hulk, he's nearly 40 and he's still going strong. So, they can still do it. We'll see. Willian might make a difference to them. He might not. It doesn't always happen, as a fairy tale sort of homecoming, does it? In coming back to Brazil. So it might work. I think he's still got a little bit of magic. He was on the books of Fulham, I think, last season at some stage. So they obviously love him there, don't they? And he obviously likes living in London, doesn't he, Willian? He's been there around about a few teams, hasn't he, in London? So, yeah, let's see how he can get on. But I think that's fair enough. Grêmio might just need a little bit more firepower because they don't seem to score that many goals. Martin Braithwaite seems to have gone off the boil a little bit, doesn't he, this season? And I know they've got the lad from the Vinicius from Spurs as well. Used to play for Spurs, didn't he? But he's not really done much either. So maybe he can, bring them up, give them a bit of firepower that they need.
Yeah, they were at Fulham together. I think maybe Willian and Vinicius. He was actually back. He was at Corinthians for a while, a couple of years ago, Willian. So he did come back more about 33 maybe, but he did come back to the Premier League and he did really well at Fulham, to be fair. He went from Arsenal to Corinthians, then back to the Premier League. So it was a really good kind of, fair play to him. He's a good player. So, yeah, that'll be nice to have him, a biggish name, 70 caps for Brazil. So that was just one I was going to mention. I forgot at the time we spoke about Grêmio, so I thought I'd just bring it back up at the end. Right then, I don't think there's anything left to do apart from to run down the Brasileirão table after that round of fixtures then, George.
Yeah, it'd be a pleasure of mine, James, as always. So top of the table in first position is Flamengo on 47 points. Second is Cruzeiro on 44. Third, Palmeiras on 43. Fourth is Bahia on 36. Fifth, Fogo on 35. Sixth is Mirassol on 35. In seventh position is São Paulo on 32. Eighth, RB Bragantino on 30. Ninth, Fluminense on 28. 10th position, Inter on 27. 11th is Sierra on 26. 12th, Corinthians also on 26. 25 points in 13th place is Gremio, James. 14th is Galo on 24. 15th, Vasco on 22. 16th, Santos on 22. Also on 22 in the relegation zone, James, is Victoria in 17th. 18th is Juventude on 21. 19th is Fortaleza on 15th. 15 and bottom of the pile, as always, in 20th position is Sport Recife on 10 points.
Yeah, Sport Recife's golden period seems to have ended pretty abruptly. Another defeat for them, and but Juventude making a good fist of it, and Victoria as well, to be fair. So some good wins for those teams down there this weekend, heading into the international break. And yeah, we'll see, George. We'll think about what to do next week. There might be that there isn't a show, and we might think of one. We'll have a think if it's worth looking at the Brazil games, if there's anything interesting happens. But anyway, thank you everybody for listening. Another good episode. Remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. And yeah, thanks everybody. We'll catch you next time.
Yeah, thank you for listening, everyone. Have a good week. Enjoy the Brazilian football. Enjoy the international football. Adios.
Adios.
Brazil ball, we're breaking it down. Bringing the passion from every town. Let the world be filled with love tonight. Sway to the beat, make you feel so right. Song by song, our vibes, we're dancing in the